Set, go. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone again. Tonight we'll be studying chapter 11. I know no one wants to study chapter 11 ever, right? But this chapter 11 is also not so good after So chapter 11 discusses the Russia. We learned right way in the beginning of the Tanya that there are 5 categories to which all the Jews in the world could be divided. The first one is a tzaddik gomor, a complete tzaddik. I explain means someone that his evil side has been eliminated entirely. There's not a trace of evil left in him. There is a tzaddik she'ena gomor, an incomplete tzaddik, which means that his evil is totally decapitated, it's totally paralyzed, but it does still exist. And where do we see that it exists? Not that he does anything wrong, otherwise he wouldn't be called a tzaddik. Not that he wants anything wrong, otherwise he wouldn't be called a tzaddik. That's expressed in the fact that he doesn't have a complete and utter hatred and disgust from evil. That's what makes a tzaddik an incomplete tzaddik. If he's a complete tzaddik, if he would totally destroy his evil, he would have no trace of any acceptance of any legitimacy for the existence of evil in the world in the slightest way. Then there is a Rasha. Rasha is the opposite side, people who don't always do the right thing. What we're going to learn about today is there's a Rasha Gomer, a complete Rasha, which is what we usually mean when we say a Rasha, an evil person, a bad person, someone who just totally has no red lines. He does anything and everything he wants, whenever he wants, as much as he wants. And then there is a Rasha V'Teva, which probably most Jews fall into that category, which is someone who, we said that Rasha V'Teva means, or a Rasha Gomor. Just go back, a tzaddik gomor, a complete tzaddik, is called a Rasha V'Teva, a tzaddik who has only good. The second class of a tzaddik is a tzaddik viraloi, which means literally a tzaddik who suffers. Eov asked Hashem, Job asked God, why do I see, he knew from himself, tzaddikim that suffer? Why do I see that there's tzaddikim that have it all good for them and tzaddikim that suffer? So God answered him that a tzaddik v'tovloi is a tzaddik, a complete tzaddik, he has no reason to suffer. A tzaddik who is incomplete, he still has some bad in him, that's why the suffering is given to him as a means to clean him up, to allow him to fully enjoy the fruits of his labor in the next world. So Hashem brings upon him some suffering which cleanses him in his lifetime. That's why the tzaddik suffers.
I thought the whole category of tzaddik was removed from evil.
It is.
So if it, I don't really
it's removed from definitely from practical evil, from doing, thinking, saying or doing, and even from wanting evil. But the tzaddik she'ena gomer means that there is a little bit of trace left in him.
It's not discussed.
Huh?
So how?
And where do we see it? What's the expression of that?
From the Benoni.
The Benoni wants to do a lot of bad things. The Benoni is in a total struggle the whole time. Tzaddik, it's paralyzed.
Okay.
Never thinks, never wants to do it. It's just, where do we see it? Is that he doesn't have the same level as disgust from evil that the tzaddik does, that the complete tzaddik. So then we have Rasha V'Tova. There's a Rasha, an evildoer, who has it good, and there's a Rasha Virale. Now, it usually works the other way around with the Rasha, but we won't get into that today. But so a Rasha V'Tova, a Rasha who has good to himself, which is a person who wants to do the right things. He tries to do it in different levels. He actually does the right thing, but sometimes he falls. Sometimes he makes blunders, makes mistakes. And then there's a Rasha Viralo, someone who's totally disinterested in doing good. He doesn't have any remorse. He doesn't have any. He's doing his evil deeds, and he doesn't think twice about it.
someone who does an avera, I'm saying if he while he's working to be good, he's considered a beinoni, no? Or
What does that mean?
if,
While
if
he's working,
if he controls himself and doesn't do an avera, at that moment he's considered a beinoni.
while he's but he has to do tshuva first. For he has to decide that he's leaving. You can't say I'm doing. I'm certain things I'm keeping. Let's say I'm deciding. Let's start from before that. Someone who decides, let's say, he wants to become a Baal Tshuva. Yeah. He's living a life which is not according to the Torah, and he decides he wants to do tshuva. So he makes a decision. I am going to do tshuva now. I'm going to return to God, but I have a hard time taking upon the whole Shulchan Aruch at once.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, I'm starting with kosher and Shabbos, or some people start just with kosher. Some people start now. Of course, if you want to follow the Shulchan Aruch, you got to daven every day. This person says, I'm making a step. If he has his goal that he takes upon himself everything, but he's making his way step by step, that's one situation. Will he be called a beinoni at that stage? Not necessarily, but he's still on the right path. If someone says, I accept this section of Judaism, but I reject another one, I like the mitzvah of Shabbos, but the mitzvah of kosher I don't believe in, I don't accept, then even his Shabbos is a big mistake. Now, should we discourage such a person? No. Because we believe that the mitzvah has an infinite godly power in it, and it's going to make the person eventually take on more. But a person there's a difference of knowing that I want to do more, and I'm doing what I can at this stage, and I'm planning to take on more as I go on, and saying that I just do certain things, and other things I don't care about. I don't. So while a person is working, it may not be considered a beinoni. We'll get there later on. We'll discuss
He's
that.
not a Russia, no.
If he's doing certain things that he shouldn't be doing, he's a Russia.
He's not doing anything.
But let's go on
So
further.
consider Russia when he's actually doing an avera. Not if he's potentially able to do an avera.
Everyone's potentially able to do an avera at all times, but if someone doesn't abandon, he doesn't do teshuva and remove himself from the avera, he's still a Russia.
Like someone who wants to, it's too hard for him.
So it depends on the situation. Again, you don't always, a person is learning to be a doctor, he knows how to be a doctor, but he's not a doctor yet. It depends on which stage. Maybe he's going to be a tzaddik, he's going to be a beinoni, but if meanwhile he still has things that are unwanted in his life, you cannot. Tzaddik means he has to be clean of it, or beinoni at least. He doesn't do anything wrong. So we have Rosh Tovloi. So many of these questions I think will be answered as we go along. The whole chapter discusses it. So Rosh Tovloi means a Rosh who has many good aspects of him, like an ordinary Jew who doesn't win every fight in his life, every challenge. And we have a Rosh Hashanah who doesn't care. He does whatever he wants whenever he wants. So a good person could be a Rasha. There's a big difference of a good person and a tzaddik, and even a beinoni. To be a very good person, a very kind person, a very caring person, a very learned person, someone who davens and learns, and he does a lot of good things in his life. And he has certain areas that we have certain areas that we need to improve. We know we're not doing always the right thing, whether it's lashon hara, whether it's our davening is not the way it should be. Everyone knows what he has to fix, and as long as a person cannot, at the end of the day, mark a checklist and say that everything he did today, he did everything he should have been doing, and he didn't do anything he should not have been doing, and he's a Rasha. He could be a person who's very good, very very God-fearing to a certain extent, obviously, because if you're really God-fearing, you wouldn't do certain things that you do. But he tries, and he has certain areas in which he did win the war. The Tzemach Tzedek taught that there's a concept of a tzaddik or a beinoni in a certain area. Let's say many people who grew up in a religious home, so eating not kosher for them is never a challenge. Like you walk past the McDonald's and you just
Terrified.
terrified, you're disgusted. Yeah, so for some people, a cheeseburger is something that they'll never think about. Just like so, a tzaddik is someone that feels the same way about everything that's not kosher, about lashon hara, about watching his eyes, whatever it is. A tzaddik is someone who feels that way about everything. He's disgusted from anything. And so a regular person, a Beinoni, he wants it. He wants everything, or some things. So a Beinoni can have certain things that are a struggle, and others that are not even a struggle. And in general, over time, when a person gets into the habit of overcoming himself, certain things, slowly, he could capture ground, he could conquer ground and make it more and more. Eventually, he may be able to say that I am a tzaddik, meaning that there's nothing in my life that I want to do bad. Everything I want to do is the right thing. Till you reach that point, you may be a tzaddik or a beinoni in certain areas, but you can't declare yourself to be a tzaddik. Like it's a student who's studying till he gets his diploma. He's not a lawyer or a doctor, whatever he's studying. He may know a lot about what doctors do. He may be almost a doctor, but certain areas, certain things he could treat already. And it's not that today a lot of people with diplomas are not know much less than people that know that don't have diplomas in certain. But just take that example. So a tzaddik, someone who's got it all complete. So there could be a tzaddik in certain areas that when it comes to certain things, I feel like a tzaddik, or certain things that I know that I want them very much, but I know I'm not going to do it. Yeah, let's say someone Shabbos. Some people really like to smoke or to watch the news or whatever it is, and it's a struggle for them. But they know that this struggle they're going to win. It's part of their nature. It might be a struggle, and because you already know, you decided that it's a no-no. It's Shabbos. I wanna open my phone. Yeah, during the week, every time you check your phone every 2 minutes to see if something happened. Shabbos, you're like a beinoni for it. It's like something that it's a struggle that you're trained to win. It's not that you don't have a desire for it, but you definitely have the upper hand in this fight with the Yetzer Hara. Other things you don't even have a fight. You don't even want. So, but that's all in particular things. But we're talking about who could be titled a tzaddik or a beinoni. It has to be in everything to person to have that title. So in this chapter, the Alter Rebbe goes through the Rasha. And like we said, just like by the tzaddik, there are many levels. We said about the tzaddik she'eino gomer, the tzaddik that has some evil in him. There's also it depends how much is mixed. He has more good than bad, definitely, and a lot more. But sometimes there's 1 to 60, there's 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000. So also in the Rasha could be the other way around. What does that mean? It means he's a person who, for many areas in his life, he does the right things. Yeah, we're saying the Rasha doesn't mean he could be a religious Jew, it could be a very God-fearing, so to speak, person, a very pious person. But since he still has bad in him. So depending on how much bad he has in him versus the good, that's the different type of Rasha. Some people they make one mistake a day. Some people will make 2. Some people make 20.
So we all Rashayim? We all Rashayim, basically.
We don't have to be.
No, but compared to whatever you just say...
Most people, by Hasidim, someone who got the title of Beinoni wasn't Sir Nissen. They say he was a Beinoni. Chaim Mashpia. Because he was someone who took it serious and he never let the Yetzer Hara win. Was he a tzaddik? I don't know, but they said that's what they say about him.
I want to ask you this question. I have this question a long time. On the side of good, right? The Yetzer Tov or the Nefesh Elokis, or for that matter, Kodesh Baruch Hu, we recognize it's like an entity. That's like for example, God Himself, right? He's like an entity, kiviyach, like an entity who has intelligence. He's like a living entity, the living God. We call God the living God, right? and the soul is Chelik Elokah. So the soul is like this living, and it's intelligent, and it has desire, and it wants. But so the side of Ra, is it like we talk about the Yetzer Hara is equivalent with the Satan, right? Like, is that like the same thing, right?
Yeah. It's
So related, right? So
Family.
in like, so here's my question. What do you say, fam? Is this Side of Ra? Is it like, the Satan, like an entity which is intelligent, which is trying to kill you, so to speak, like sort of like this way of looking at it, or like in contrast to like the modern way of looking at things is there's no intelligent anything. It's like psychology, and it's not like a really entity. It's just like, well, you want to do that, but that's wrong. But that's that view is not an entity who is like an entity, like a beast, so to speak, who's trying to. And this beast is trying to kill you, is trying to steer you off track and kill you. Is that really what it is? And that would be parallel to Kodesh Baruch Hu, who is an entity on the side of Tov.
The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is one of the names. Yetzer Hara means an inclination that's embedded within every human being.
It sounds like an Atiyah then. It's an Atiyah, okay.
That's the result, but it originates, it says, Hu Yetzer Hara, Hu Satan, Hu Malach HaMavis. He instigates you, he prosecutes you, and he executes you.
We Yetzer Hara, there's four, right? He's the Yetzer Hara.
I remember three. Yetzer Hara,
That I remember also.
Satan, and Malach HaMavis. Satan is that Hashem created for the challenge to be that it's not God versus Satan, as in other religions.
In a certain way, are we saying that?
And the prosecutor.
And the prosecutor. Satan means the prosecutor.
Are we saying that right now? God
There's
versus
four.
No, he created He created three.
Fine, he created them, but
four,
still,
four.
the entity is there.
So the entity is definitely there.
Sure.
It's an angel, and we discussed in I think last week that we discussed in length the mashal. That says it in 2 words. He brings the mashal of the Zona, of the prostitute from the Zohar. The king hired the prostitute to test his son.
Mm-hmm.
So she is a faithful servant of the king, and she, as much as the king doesn't want the son to stumble, she doesn't want it, but she has to put up a good fight. So there is this entity that's trying to test us. It's an angel of death, an angel of evil, but he is not doing any evil in the sense of disobeying his commands. On the contrary, he's doing his job very good. The Baal Shem Tov, I think, would say that we should learn from the Yetzer Hara how to serve Hashem. He does such a good job. He does his job so well. We should do our job so well as well. He's got to try to instigate us, and we have to overcome him with the same tactics, with the same cunning tricks, and we have to always be on guard. So there is this entity that's making us do bad. It became part of our nature. It's not like it's not an excuse. It is an excuse. Depends to who. For yourself, don't use it as an excuse. I have an inclination. Yeah. Today there's people that they have different. I don't know if it's today, but they always were. But people that they express they have not a healthy lifestyle when it comes to how to live family life. Yeah, they have a tendency towards the wrong type of relationship. So some of them, the ones that come from religious background, they use it as they say, I can't, it's me. So a lot of people have a tendency to steal. A lot of people have a tendency to kill. The tendency doesn't mean you can't overcome it. It may not be easy. We wish we wouldn't have bad tendencies. We all do. But if the tendency was part of me, it's an excuse. It's what can I do? Just like I like to breathe, I like to steal. And I like to kill.
The mushal with the Zona, you continue. The mushal continue.
So we can't use it as an excuse. However, what we do sometimes, what tzaddikim would many times tell Hashem is, Hashem, you gave us the Yetzer Hara, what do you want from us? So when we're talking about another Jew, a fellow Jew, and we see that he makes mistakes, we could use it as, we pray to Hashem, Hashem, don't punish him, Hashem, be kind to him, it's not his fault, that works. But to yourself, you're not supposed to say that. To yourself, it's a tendency that you have, it does originate from an outside force, and deep down we do believe very much that a Jew is good and he wants to do good. But it does become very much part of us. That's what we're born with. On the contrary, the Yetzer Tov that comes in at a later stage.
So we're saying it is an entity. Okay, it at least originates there. But that mashal that you brought up continues to say that the evil within us is actually pure evil, like the Zoda, which hires another, which hires another, which hires another, who forgets the king, right? That's the mashal continues like that.
That's the way it's explained.
Yeah.
It's I mean the Zohar, right? So that kind of answers the Rebbe's explanation of the mashal. I didn't bring it up last week. Yeah. So that brings out the point that maybe the evil in us doesn't necessarily know that it, but the Satan, so that means that it becomes part of us. It becomes natural to us to sin, to make these mistakes. But we have to know that the grandfather of that agent,
the grade 80,
the boss. What do you call it? You have the FBI, you have the agent, and you have the ones on top that send all the agents around. So that's an angel, and could not necessarily the evil in me knows that why it's part of me. It becomes part of me, but it originates in a force which doesn't want me to sin. And deep down, even that messenger, that agent of the agent, also, doesn't also wants to do what's right. It doesn't want you to fall for it. So we have the different levels, different kinds within a Rosh of a Tovloi are many, depending on the mix, how much of each there is, how much good versus bad there is. Some people are better people. Some people are even better. Most people have a mixture. They do a lot of good things and do a lot of not good things. Some people, it's they find it very easy to do bin adam lechaver, mitzvahs that apply between man and his fellow man. They like to get tzedakah and they like to help. And when it comes to matters of between Hashem and themselves, between davening and learning, they have a harder time. Some people are good in both. Everyone has a different level. Some people are good only in one of them, which is they're only good in adam lemokim, but they forget about bin adam lechaver, which makes a chilul Hashem. Someone is very pious when it comes to his own things with God, but he's not kind to other people. We sometimes think he's better off if we the other way around, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line, what the common denominator between all these types of Rishonim is that they have a mix of two ingredients, good and bad, which means I'm talking about in the way they behave, and depending on the ratio is what kind of Rasha he is. Is he a big Rasha or a small Rasha? But he's still a Rasha, even if he's very small, even if it's one thing that he falls for. Yeah. Another thing is, so there's two ways to actually define this. One is what he does, which things he struggles with, and he doesn't overcome the struggle, and how often. So some people have one issue that they make the same mistake a lot. Some people have few issues and they fall less. Some people, everyone's very different. Everyone is his own person over here, and we have to know what we have to fix, which issues we struggle with and we fall, and to get rid of those, and also to lower the how often it happens. So that's in the Alter Rebbe's words. That says there's thousands of different levels about the quality and the quantity. Quantity is how many times we sin and in which areas we sin. Which means how much the good is subjugated to the evil. The way it works is that if the good is not in control, and the person doesn't have that self-control that tells him don't do what you shouldn't be doing, do only what you should be doing, we lose that self-control. So that means that our good is also tied up, is also under the control of the evil. If the good is not doesn't have total control over you, it means he's actually being schlepped down by the evil. The evil he's being pulled around by the evil side. So you have some people that the good is subjugated to the bad in a very minute measure, and even that, which means there's only very few areas where he stumbles, and even that he doesn't stumble very often. It's very, very rare. others. It's more often and it's in more areas, and in general it's divided to the three levushim, to the three garments of the soul which we discussed earlier: the thought, the speech, and the action. There's people that do certain things that they shouldn't be doing, and definitely speak and definitely think about it. Some people can be very careful that they don't do it, but they only talk about it, only think about it. And some people, they don't even talk about it, but they think about it. You know, it's a gift from Hashem that that the people don't read our thoughts. Our thoughts are not broadcast live. Yeah. And some people, they say that they speak their mind. Not always it's so good to speak your mind, unless there's good things going on in your mind. It's a gift from Hashem that our thoughts are private. At least, we could put up a good show, and we could convince others of at least what we want to be. A lot of times people find out what we think by what we do. So it's not just deeds that make a person bad. It's even things that he says and even things that he thinks. If he actively engages in thinking, we're not talking about the thoughts come to your mind and you reject them. That's already a Beinoni. But if thoughts come to a person's mind and he doesn't reject them, he accepts those thoughts and he thinks more about it, so he's already a Rasha. He's maybe not as bad as someone that does evil and says evil, but just by thinking about it, by thinking about certain concepts that are not proper, like how to cheat someone. There was a chassid in Crown Heights. He was a rich man. His name was Zalman Garari, and he had a gemach, free loan society. He would give people loans for business, whatever, different things. So once someone came to him for a loan. He asked for whatever, $10,000, $5,000, whatever it was, and he gives him the loan. The person realized the lender didn't ask him for guarantors, didn't ask for witnesses, nothing. So he joked around. He says, what happens if I decide not to pay you back? How are you gonna
go after me?
How are you gonna go after me? So I told him, give me back the money. I'm not dealing with you. So I told him, I just said. I was just joking with you. He says, everyone has three levels. There's the thought, the speech, and the action. So I don't know what people think. And but I could see what people do. So now if the person, I don't see him to be a thief, and he's not talking about stealing, so it could be he's thinking about stealing, but I have a certain level of trust that he won't steal because it's 2 against 1. He doesn't steal, he doesn't talk about stealing. Maybe he thinks about stealing. So 2 overweigh the 1. But you are definitely, I don't know if you didn't steal yet, but you thought about it and you spoke about it. So I'm already scared to deal with you. I don't want to lend you the money. But either way, even if it's just in the level of thought, and that's
What happened?
That's the story. End of the story. He didn't get the loan.
You didn't get a loan, no?
Why would you lend someone?
Watch your mouth, yeah.
Exactly.
No,
Watch your
but
mouth.
maybe he was telling him that he should be watching out. People, how are you gonna? He's telling him he should protect yourself.
He didn't say let's sign a contract. He said, what if I don't pay you back? He didn't say okay, let's. He didn't have the lender and lender's best in his interest. There was.
They should have signed a contract like that. Why did he say no?
No, then he signed it. Then you have to, even if there's someone that you think he's a thief, then don't sign contracts with him. Don't deal with him.
It doesn't actually.
Yeah, it's like you sign a contract with someone that you feel that you could trust, and the contract is there for extra protection. Now, even if you're not thinking of big sins, you're thinking of small sins, things that are unimportant. He gives us the example over here of someone who thinks definitely is not doing an immoral act, engaging in an immoral relationship. He's not talking about it. He's not even thinking about it. What is he thinking? He's thinking about the concept in an abstract form, not about him doing it with someone. He's thinking about the concept. That's already a problem. And actually, when it comes to the thoughts, Chazal say, "Hirure avera kashim avera." Thoughts of sin are worse than sin. What does that mean? Thoughts of sin are worse than sin.
Because you go on and on, the avera only lasts for a minute, a second, whatever it is. You can be in thinking of
But it's
doing
not
that's
action
a
yet.
lot.
But it's not action yet. It's not.
So
physical
what it
action.
means, it doesn't mean
You haven't done
it doesn't
anything
mean it doesn't mean the thoughts are punishable. They're punishable by Hashem, but it doesn't mean they're punishable by court. It doesn't mean that it's worse in the sense that you're better off. Don't make the mistake that just don't think about it. You rather we want to do something bad, so instead of thinking about it for a half hour,
Think of something else. Yeah.
do it. No, doesn't mean do it. Doesn't mean since thought is worse than the action, so just do it and don't think about it. What it means is that the thought, since the thought is so private, and so there's a simple meaning which is one of the Rambam, I think he writes about. There's 24 things that are very tough to do teshuvah for. One of them is thinking, thoughts of sin. Why are thoughts of sin so bad? That are so hard to do tshuva? Because a person never says, I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything. It was just in my mind. A person doesn't realize that the thoughts turn into his actions eventually. If a person doesn't battle thoughts, he doesn't get rid of it when it's young, when it's small, these thoughts eventually become deeds. So a person just disregards the thoughts. It's just a thought. It's nothing real. It's nothing concrete. So what's the problem from just thinking? So that's what makes it so bad. So we went through different things that can make a person a rasha. Deeds, obviously, even speech, which is improper, and even thoughts which are improper. The truth is, it's not only things that you do, it's also things that you are not doing. Someone who's supposed to be studying Torah, okay, so some people have to study the whole day. Some people have to study, in the morning and the evening for an hour, for a period of time. But if a person is in a situation where he should be studying Torah now, and instead he's watching TV, he's just looking at the stars.
He needs to relax in order to study Torah later.
That's okay. That's fine. But if it's time that he's not relaxing for the sake of studying Torah, and it's okay. A person does need to relax. Doesn't mean we're talking about in a time where he should be studying. A person relaxed, and now he gets together with his chavrusa, and they're studying, and instead they're talking about what President Trump did in Israel today.
He did something beautiful today.
It could be, but if we're going to start now, for example, in the middle of the shir, discussing President Trump's trip in Israel, unless we learn a lesson from it, and Avez Hashem, just to gossip about it. We didn't speak anything bad necessarily. It wasn't speech which is sinful in any way. It was 100% kosher speech. If I would be talking about this in the time that I was relaxing in order to learn Torah, it would be fine, it would be kosher. But now I'm supposed to be learning, and instead I'm talking about this latest news. It's 100% perfect kosher news. Since it's taking away, now is a time dedicated for Torah, I'm not learning Torah, instead I'm talking about these things. So the words are not the sin. The sin is the time that you wasted. In the time that's dedicated for Torah study if you're wasting that time, that's also a sin. Even if you didn't do what you should be doing, that's also a problem. So while a person is engaged in sin, doesn't mean if he's actively engaged, even if he's not engaged, but he's still in his mind, it's okay.
He's thinking about it.
Even he's not thinking. When is a person called a rasha? Look at a person when he's just like a person is called a tzaddik. The Alter Rebbe would say that there's a term in Yiddish, lamden, Yiddish Hebrew. Lamden is someone who knows how to learn. So the Alter Rebbe said it's mistranslated. A lamden is not someone who knows how to learn. It's someone who learns. Just like a ganiv is not someone who knows how to steal. Someone who steals. If we go by someone who knows how to learn, then we could all be called thieves because we all know how to steal. We all know how to kill. Right? You all know how to do these things. It means that you're actively engaged. So when is a person considered a rasha, a sinner? When he's actively engaged in sin. Or in the way of sin. The Mittler Rebbe, he has a book, it's called Derech Chaim. It's a book to do tshuva. He said there was a certain chassid that he had this book in his house, and every time he would look at it, he would start to cry. So he was old, it wasn't healthy for him, so his family, they bound it in a different color, a different binding, so you shouldn't see it. So in the introduction to this book, the Mittler Rebbe focuses on a verse. It says, "Avili miderech pisha." They are sinful from the way of sin, the evil because of the way of sin, while they fast for their wrongdoings. So he explains like this: there's a situation when a person could be very involved in doing teshuvah. He's repenting, he's fasting. But he still remains connected to the sin. He loves the sin. So he wants to calm his conscience, so he does different things. He does different tikkunim, and he reads different tehillims, and he fasts, but he's not really doing the tshuva, the fast, the tehillim, all these things are ways to assist him doing tshuva. The true meaning of teshuvah is to abandon the way of sin.
He holds a share, so he goes to the.
Huh?
He holds the shares.
That's equivalent if someone is going to the mikveh because he was impure, like because he touched a sheretz, a certain insect, that's the right word. Different things that make a person impure, and he's holding it while he's going to the mikveh. He could be doing all the fasting and all the tikkunim. He could be rolling in snow and jumping on fire and walking on coals. But if he doesn't leave the way of sin, the derech pisham, it's not that he's actually actively sinning. But he doesn't get rid of the way of sin, the mentality of sin, so he's still sinning. So Rasha is someone who's actively sinning, or at least he's not abandoning the way of sin, even if he's not actively sinning now. That's when a person's a Rasha. Yeah.
What if he's sinning but he doesn't know that he's sinning? He doesn't know that it rules.
That's what it says. Ein bor yirei chet. There's the Mishnah. Bor cannot be a simple, a God-fearing person. V'lei amaretz chassid, and amaretz cannot be a chassid, which means doing extra. Bor is less knowledgeable than an amaretz.
Idiot.
Yeah, and then there's an ignoramus. That's exactly why it's very important for a person to study halacha, to know what's right. You have to know what you have to do.
But those things, what we just mentioned, standing Mishnah, saying Tehillim, davening, it prevents you from sin. You're hoping it's going to prevent you from sin. A person is
of course it's good. If a person is involved, he's
hoping it's going to prevent it because you said.
We're not talking about a person who does teshuvah and then he falls again. That's a different story. A person, a lot of times we just calm our conscience by doing different things, but not dealing with the real problem. It's like someone who has a skin problem, so he puts on vasostrace and all these ointments, and he doesn't deal with the root of the problem. He's dealing with the symptoms. You have to know that there's something that causes these sins to happen. It's a certain mentality. And if a person is doing all these things and not dealing with the real... Saying Tehillim is always good, by the way. Even if you're a Russia, it's not... keep saying Tehillim, keep learning Mishnayos. But we have to also pay attention to fix the core of the problem, the root. What's making you sin? Why you keep on falling? Yeah? Who said that a fool is someone who does the same thing and expects the result to be different? If a person is doing teshuvah this way for many years and he still doesn't figure it out, that means that one chassid once complained to his Rebbe. He said, "Rebbe, my Yetzer Hara is running after me. He doesn't leave me alone." He said, "Why do you think he's running after you? Maybe you're running after him." Perhaps it's the other way around. The mentality, the derech pisha, the mentality of sin is a problem. So Rasha means someone who's actively sinning.
Someone that has no idea whether he's sinning or not, and no idea about halacha, let's say he didn't learn it, doesn't have the ability to learn it, he's a Rasha?
So, first of all, he's not a tzaddik. If a person sins, even though he's doing it, he doesn't know that it's a sin, it doesn't turn him into a tzaddik. Yeah, he's still a Rasha. Doesn't help. Will he be punished? Will he be held accountable? Depends. If he had the ability, we have the concept of tinik shenishba. There's a big difference in halacha. Say someone who didn't, never knew about Shabbos and he found out about Shabbos and he did many chilul Shabbos, he has to bring a korban. Someone who knew every time he desecrated the Shabbos, he has to bring another offering. Someone who never knew about Shabbos because he grew up amongst Gentiles and or grew up in a secular environment, he never knew about these things. Once he finds out, he has to bring one offering. There is a difference, but he definitely doesn't become a tzaddik. It might not be his fault. Tinik Shanishba is we definitely we don't hold him accountable, but it doesn't make him into a tzaddik.
You have to learn, Daniel. That's it.
And especially those who do know and those who are involved have to learn that he must learn. A Jew who knows that there's mitzvahs, he knows that there's Torah, he has to learn, he has to study. If he has a question, he has to figure out the answer. Ask a rabbi, study himself. Most of the questions that come up in life are discussed in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Besides maybe modern, different things about in Shabbos, the crackpot, and that doesn't say that it wasn't written yet. But most of the daily activities are discussed there. Personally, it's a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. You don't have to be a rabbi to learn it. It's available. It's accessible in many languages, and you know what's right and wrong. If you don't study, you're not gonna know. If you don't know, you make mistakes, like anything in life.
So the only chance you don't burn in hell is Mashiach should come. Before like that, we have a gift. If everybody's a Russia, so it's going to be a balagan upstairs.
There's a Rebbe, I think his name is Yismach Moshe. He started Satmar. Satmar comes from him, his grandson. So he said, Tzaddikim are not in Gehenim, and Rishoyim are not in Gan Eden, and Rishoyim are not in Gehenim. Tzaddikim are not in heaven, and Rishoyim and evil people are not in hell. It's Gan Eden is in the Tzaddik, and the hell is in the Rasha. We have to. So that's the point. When is a person called a Rasha? If I'm not sinning now. Am I a Rasha? You were asking before. Depends. Could be a person sinned and then he regretted it right away, and he's trying to do tshuva. He's trying to abandon, to get rid of that mentality. So when he does tshuva, when he's actively involved in the opposite of sin, in going away from it, that makes him into a Beinani, about tshuva. If someone is but while even if he's not sinning, but he's not planning to stop sinning, which means that there's a part in him that wants to continue to sin and sees no problem in sinning, then he's in trouble. Then he's still a Rasha, even though he's not actively doing anything wrong now. There's a Rasha when he sleeps. Depends what he did before he went to sleep. Did he say Shema and say Tachanun and do Teshuvah, or did he not? Could be when you sleep, you might be a Beinin, you might be a Baal Tshuva if you did Tshuva before you went to sleep. Maybe the next morning you're gonna fall again. You're in a constant ping pong. But
so what's the difference between a Menuval, B'Reshut Torah, and a Rasha?
a Novel B'Reshut Torah is the term of Novel B'Reshut Torah refers to someone who finds a heter. He finds he knows enough Torah to everything that he wants to do. It's improper. He finds an excuse, a halachic explanation, a heter, sort of. He wants to drive on Shabbos, he'll find a heter. He wants to smoke on Shabbos, he'll find a heter. He'll figure it out. Yeah, that's that person is definitely not a tzaddik. He's definitely a rasha, but he's doing things. He's a rasha according to halacha. He's a rasha with a hechsher. He means that you can't catch him. Like those lawyers that they know the law so well, they can do all the crimes in the world. They're the most immoral, the biggest thieves, but they always win in court because they're very smart. So it could be you can't punish him because he found the loopholes, but his whole approach is very, very rotten, very corrupt. Does that answer the question? I think that would be the difference. He's a Rasha, is also a Lamdan. And sometimes Torah makes a person better, sometimes a person is... That was just a story they say about a Paritz who once visited a Jew who worked in his... He had a kretschme, he had an inn. So this Paritz, this landowner, the count, once came to visit the inn on Shabbos, and he was served kishke. The olden days, the way they make kishke, in America it's illegal. They don't sell the intestines of the animal. But the real way of making kishka is you take intestines of the animal and you stuff it with all different good stuff, and part of the flavor goes in, and it could be a very good tasting delicacy. Today the kishka sell in the store is wrapped in wax paper or plastic. It's not the same thing. So the Paritz really liked it, and he asked for the recipe, and he comes home and he tells his chef, I want you to prepare this dish for me. Take an animal intestine, fill it with flour and eggs and onions and some spices, and cook it overnight. Okay, he did it, he serves it, and the platter comes into the room, and it smells, it stinks. What's going on? And he tastes it, and it tastes like what's yeah. So he starts screaming at the chef. What's going on? He says, I followed your recipe exactly. So he goes back to the Jew and he says, you tricked me over here. What did you tell him to put inside that made it taste so bad? He says, no, I told you the recipe. He says, tell me how it was prepared. And he asked the chef. He says, I took the intestine and stuffed it. I said, did you wash out the intestines?
Mm-hmm.
Did you clean it up? He says, no, I didn't do that. That's why it smelled so bad. So a person could study Torah, but if he has a corrupt mind, so he'll use the Torah, like you said, a novel b'shus Torah. He'll use the Torah as an excuse for all. He'll find excuses. It'll be very smelly. You take good ingredients, but you make them stink. That's why it's very important to have the right approach. The mentality should be the right direction. So there's the law, and there's the spirit of the law. So that's very important to have. So someone who never thinks of doing teshuvah, he never wants to abandon this approach. He doesn't feel bad when he does bad things. Even if he's not doing the bad thing, he's still a rasha. Because he wants to do it. He sees no problem with it. This could be in certain areas. In other areas, a person does see that it's wrong. Someone who does teshuvah, he does repent. He does regret what he did. So, and then he falls back again. So he was a rasha who did teshuvah. He repented from his evil ways, and he made the mistake again. And he has to figure out how to do it so it will be long lasting. And that's what Chazal say. Our sages say that Rishoyim are full of regrets. Like they say, the way to hell. The path to hell is lined with good intentions. That's the way the saying goes in the world. What does that mean? That means someone who did a lot of bad things, and in between he always regretted it. And for regretting, he'll also get rewarded for that desire. But that means that he's a rasha v'tovla. He's on different levels. He's a rasha who has good to him. He does mistakes, he sins, but he has good intentions, and it's not really about good intentions. He regrets his sins in between the sins, and really he does, not just doing it as lip service.
If he was a Rush, then the tshuva, right? He gets forgiven for the past.
Right.
And then he becomes a Rush again. Does his past come back, or he's already forgiven and that's it?
It depends on different levels. In some ways he's forgiven. There's the concept of punishing. The punishment, he's forgiven when he does teshuvah. If the teshuvah is not sincere, which means the teshuvah is let's say for example, he just brings the carbon times the Beis Hamikdash. He just goes to the mikveh, whatever it is, he does something, and he didn't really regret the act. Every act has a body and a soul. It has the actual act and your desire that was involved in the act. That's the soul. So to really get rid of the sin, you have to destroy the body and the soul. So the body means not to do it anymore, obviously, to decide not to do it, and the soul is to not want it anymore. And that's the concept that sometimes by saying, just Hashem gave us the concept of vidui confession. Since words are similar to deeds, so the words could destroy the body of a sin. That's why the vidui, the Hashamnu, it's all the letters of the Aleph base, which represent any act that was involved, any sinful act. So back to what you were saying. Remind me again.
The old
So the old things are forgiven. They are forgiven, but there's always the effect that it had on you, which that you have to work and clean up. So punishment wise, it could be definitely tshuva always forgives most sins. There's some sins that are so severe that need more than just tshuva, but regular sin you're forgiven, and you won't get a punishment for it if the tshuva was sincere. But the fact that you're involved, it has an effect, and you have to clean that up. So that's the tzaddik v'tovos. He has his conscience is right. He knows what's right, and when he makes a mistake, he admits it. But he doesn't have the courage to, and he regrets it. But he doesn't have the courage to regret it strongly enough that he won't return to it, and he keeps on going back to the same mistake. So that's called a rasha v'tovloi. He's a rasha that has good, and there's many levels, like I said, in it. Then there is another situation, which is someone gets so far that he doesn't regret even his deeds. He doesn't have these thoughts of teshuva at all. So he's rasha v'ralei. He's evil. And he's a rasha. He's an evildoer, and there's only evil in his life, which means that the evil overcame him so strongly that it even corrupted his consciousness. It corrupted his ability to regret and to acknowledge his mistakes. Everything he does, he thinks he's right. He thinks he's perfect. And such a person, the good obviously doesn't disappear. It just tries to stay away from it. That's why it says the Alter ends off that such a person, the good in him is he like expelled it. But the good is always connected, and the neshama of a person always stays with him as long as he's alive. So it stays like above him, it hovers over him, and that's why when 10 Jews get together, even if they're the biggest sinners, says the Zar, the Shekhinah is there with them. It's not inside them, but it's on top of them. I mean, some people feel the Shekhinah inside them. You know, there's different levels. The tzaddik feels it in a revealed way. A rasha feels it enough to make him regret his deeds. And there's a rasha who doesn't even regret his deeds, but the Shekhinah is there, and that's why he has holiness. But it's not internalized within him. It just hovers over him, obviously in a figurative way. He doesn't feel, even it's not strong enough even to make him feel bad for what he did. However, we